But before we get started, I want to offer this opportunity to all the students. So currently, not only are we offering our free CE to all of our current Aspen Dental doctors, but we're also offering the opportunity for non-Aspen Dental doctors and students to access our entire catalog. So if you go to aspendentalce.com/welcome, all you got to do is create a username and password, and you get started immediately. You can join, I believe, some live ones, as well as the library of previous CE that we have listed. So make sure to go on there. If for everybody that's going to be joining a little bit later, I'll make sure to come to this at the very final part. But thanks everyone. And without further ado, let's go ahead and we'll get everything rocking. We'll start with Dr. Ashton. Go ahead, and I'm gonna ask you guys to introduce yourselves, and then what I'll do is I'll introduce myself last. Say, you know, where you went for your undergrad, where you, obviously we know that you went to Loma Linda now, where you're currently working, and how long you've been with the company, and when you graduated from dental school. We'll just leave it at that. If you want to add anything else, feel free to. Dr. Ashton.
Okay, so I went to undergrad at Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then I, of course, went to Loma Linda, and I recognize a few names in the attendee box here.
You're going to give some shout outs right now?
I'm sure plenty of you have seen me around, at least some of the fourth years.
Yeah.
And I'm now working in Lawrence, Kansas, which is about 30 to 45 minutes outside of Kansas City.
Cool. Favorite food?
Oh, I love any type of Mexican food.
All right, there we go. Send the gift cards over now. I'm kidding. Dr. Tyna.
Yeah, so I attended Pacific Union College over in Napa Valley, California. That was in 2011. Graduated from Loma Linda 2016. Currently, I work in Fort Dodge, Iowa. I've been with the company for 4 years now.
Nice.
So,
and you are a lead doc, right? Lead dentist in the office.
Yeah, lead dentist in the office. We're called managing clinical directors. So yeah.
So if you hear it, we'll say MCD, we'll say associate, we'll say POP, which stands for Practice Ownership Program. Don't worry about remembering all that stuff. We'll take care of that. Again, my name is Derek Robinson. I am a part of the academic recruitment. So in a normal world, I will be going to your school and doing this stuff in person. Due to the times, this is kind of our platform that we have now. And I just want to clarify to everybody, I work for Aspen Dental Management Incorporated. We call ourselves ADMI. Our doctors work for a completely different company, Aspen Dental. And the reason why that's important is to let everybody know that there is no corporate instruction that is given from my side or my colleagues to everybody that works in that office. So I just want to set that straight first and foremost. With that said, we'll get started with this single question, which is, Dr. Ashton, Dr. Tyna, how do you feel supported by the company when it comes to understanding that part? Dr. Ashton, you want to start that off, like something short and sweet?
Okay. Yeah, well, I've really only been working for a month now, so I can't answer that as extensively as Dr. Tyna, but for the time being, the support I've received is really setting me up in a great office with a great owner, Dr. Marina. He's taught me so much already in just one short month, and giving me the time I need to get ready in the training period, which is about a month. So I'm just kind of starting out on my own now. But so far I felt supported and all that, and I feel prepared.
You're spreading your wings finally. Thanks. Dr. Tyna, what about you?
Well, I mean, so what I've seen is that I do have the support from, my managers and, my owning doctor as well too. Like there's the doctor that I work for, he owns this office, and I help him, lead out and, do what needs to be done in this office, and I feel like whenever I have a question, I can always just reach out. If I need help with administrative stuff, I can reach out to the higher up managers and things like that, and get the support that I need, like within the office. If there's clinical stuff I need help with, well, I have, my doctor owns 11 offices, so I have not just the owning doctor, but I can reach out to any of the other, doctors that are managing his other offices as well too, so.
That's awesome. So you got a huge network.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even on top of that, don't you have a surprise for us? Where are you, Doc?
Oh, I'm at the office right now.
What? I'm sorry. It
Sure.
sounded so corny. We already knew he was at the office.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so yeah, I make sure you guys do your guys' charts on time. My dad was here with me all last week, so I really was focusing on getting out of here, right away so I can go spend time with him. So he was visiting out from California.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So how about you give us a little walk around? You able
Cool.
to do that for us?
For sure.
Cool.
All right. So,
all right, everybody.
So this is going to be kind of like your standard layout, your front desk, lobby, everything spaced out for social distancing, just in case if you do need to have people waiting in the lobby. And then you have your standard, panoramic x-rays. Some offices will have CBCTs. Fortunately, we don't yet, but ours is coming soon, I think.
Nice.
And then standard x-ray room. And then you have like these two front operatories where you do like quick procedures, adjustments for dentures, impressions, nothing too crazy goes on here. And then let's see, we got consultation room, which is where your office manager will typically do their consultations.
And so just to clarify, Doc, the consultations are not done by you, right?
No, I don't do any of my consultations. I mean, I'm there for my patients if they need me. My office manager knows, like, hey, come grab me if you need if you need me to talk to the patient, because, for me, my priority is just, making sure the patient's comfortable.
Yep. Doing what you went to school for, right?
Yep, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we have, 3 operatories there. One of them's for your hygienist, and then your sterile area, and then surgery room. And then if we go to the back, we have our in-house laboratory where we make our dentures, which,
nice.
We don't have to do those once you're out of dental school. So
yeah.
And
not only that, you're not outsourcing. You just knock on the door and you speak directly to your lab tech. That's cool.
Yeah. And primarily just doing dentures in the office. You still send out your crowns and framework, to outside labs. So
cool.
Yeah.
Dr. Ashton, have anything to add to that layout from your guys' office?
Oh, it's very similar. The colors are a little different. Ours was just built last year, actually. So
yeah,
I think our walls are blue rather than green. So
and so just so that everybody knows, we build everything from the ground up, meaning that any of these offices that our docs are in, we're opening 80 to 85 offices a year, brand new from the ground up. And we need individuals, associates, we need lead doctors, we need partners, we need owners for those offices. So we're intending to open 80 to 85 offices every single year for like the next 5 years. So there will be tons of opportunities available. So thank you for giving that nice little tour. I think after that, we have tons of questions to cover. So let's get started. Sharon Lee asked, when's the time to look for jobs? Who wants to take that one?
I can do that one just because I did it.
Yeah.
My situation was a little different because I graduated during COVID. I mean, I didn't even go to school for my whole last quarter. So that kind of threw a big wrench in my job search. But I definitely recommend at least start in your 4th year, start getting a feel for it. Maybe middle of 4th year, I would say, is about right to start. It's never too soon to start thinking about it, though, coming to these meetings with Aspen.
Anything to add, Dr. Tyna?
Well, for me, I started, I guess, in about April of my 4th year, right? I think I did about like 20, 25 interviews. I was trying in Bay Area, San Jose area, and it's really competitive over there. So for me, it was like a lot of not looking for a new grad kind of speech. and, I don't blame them, like we're not as fast as, as we think we are when we get out. But I mean, it comes to you, just got to be confident with yourself, and know that speed will come, just do things right and eventually speed comes.
So I know this is a question that's probably directly aimed at like 2021 grads. So I feel the need to provide some info on this. We've already hired, I think, close to 40 2021 graduates already. So you can start looking as soon as possible. Obviously, this is the most unknown time that I think anybody has ever had in the 20th century, right? 20th and 21st century. So it doesn't hurt to start inquiring now, and it doesn't hurt to see what's out there. And the more you do now, especially because everything's at your fingertips now, the more you can find out to make a more educated decision. So that's kind of my own 2 cents on that. Hi, thank you for today. One thing I'd like to know, doctors, is what's the biggest difference from your clinical rotation in school compared to Aspen? Take a shot at that one.
Well, I think that primarily it's, when you're in school, you are, under the umbrella of the school. The major thing that I would probably recommend for you guys is, start having the mentality like, hey, like this is my license. For me, getting out from school, it was like my biggest obstacle was like, I'm still stuck in the school mindset. So the sooner you kind of start thinking like, okay, start practicing as if you had your license, right now, the better off you'll be. Because that way you're not as apprehensive and you're not second guessing yourself when you're out in practice. That was my biggest problem when I first got out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously on top of that, I think this is a different time now because they're not seeing as many patients, if not like very, very few. I know that I spoke recently to a Loma Linda 2021, and they said like they're way behind. So, especially in this particular instance, who the heck knows? But what you got to do, you're absolutely right. Just jump on it. Jump on it like these are your individuals already. Dr. Ashton, what about your particular situation? Just as far, maybe even just from an observation standpoint, like what have you noticed as being kind of the biggest differences?
Obviously, the most significant difference is the speed at which a private office works. I mean, you're not seeing patients in 4-hour blocks anymore. You have much less time. But the other thing is the support you have around you, like the assistants and the other doctors. I mean, it makes it so much easier to practice at a fast pace.
Yeah.
And you like coming from Loma Linda, like I wasn't the fastest worker. So I'm surprised by how well I've been able to adapt to the faster pace. So.
Nice. And I think there are a lot of misperceptions when it comes to dental support organizations as far as them telling you like you have to do these certain procedures or you didn't do enough of these procedures. Can you guys kind of talk about like your experiences of, if any, regarding anybody telling you that you need to do certain things or not do certain things? And then what about like the pace that you guys started at? Who wants to take that one?
Dr. you want to go?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, nobody has told me like what type of procedures I need to be doing, what things I should and shouldn't be doing. I have 100% autonomy of what I want to do when I treatment plan, which is awesome. Like, I have full independence, which is great. And then what was the other question? The speed?
Yeah, like, or no, like, are people telling you, oh yeah, the speed.
How
Yeah.
fast I had to start at?
Yeah, did you have to fill out one of those clinical preference sheets like that tells you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I pretty much was able to write down how much time I want for a filling, how much time I want for a crown, which makes scheduling really easy. So really Aspen starts you off really gently. You don't have to, I never have felt overwhelmed in that setup. So it's been great in that sense.
Awesome. Anything to add, Dr. Tina?
Yeah, basically Dr. Ash just said everything that I would have said, at first, our speed's not there, and I think that worksheet that they gave us, like, hey, how much time do you need for filling? How much time do you need for crown extractions? Like that helps you out a lot tremendously.
Yeah.
And, I think that, when I actually found my old sheet before, and I was like, I needed 3 hours for a full mouth extraction, and now I'm doing it, rather quickly,
Yeah,
and on top of that, seeing 3 other columns at the same time.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's, you guys are set up for success essentially, just make sure you're just paying attention to what you need,
Yeah, I think that that's probably one of the biggest things is everybody thinks that we're like me. I'm calling you guys up to say, hey, you got to work more faster and you got to see more patients. That is the furthest from the truth when it comes to it, especially on the way that we have kind of created the culture. So we'll definitely talk about culture as well. I got a question right here. What are some of the things you look for in an associate? And then how do I know I'll be a good fit for me when it comes to doing an interview? Let's have Dr. Tina take a shot at that, just as far as
what I'm looking for in an associate.
Yeah, like or like when you were an associate.
I would say that the best thing, to do is just make sure you ask questions. Ask questions, be sure of yourself when, when with the treatment that you're doing, right? Don't need to give your your superiors like, hey, like I really don't know what I'm doing, because you do know what you're doing. Don't give them that, make sure you're just ready to get your hands dirty, get ready to do the work that's presented to you, and essentially, like I said, I'm not looking with at, how fast are you? For me, what I'm looking for is like, hey, like, can you do this filling right? Are you going to remove all the decay? And that's what's important to me, because at the end of the day, right, you need to be able to sleep right with the work that you do.
Yeah, it's your license.
Yeah.
So every decision that you ultimately make comes back to you. So don't think that at any point that anybody's telling you what you can and can't do, which I think is great. And kind of on that same note, we got a question. Is it recommended to do a GPR before we apply? So with that said, obviously, you don't have to do a GPR in order to start. Maybe what we can do is ask Dr. Ashton, like, what was your experience, your recent experience with the doctor development program and with Discover Aspen, two things that we kind of build into like our little mini GPR?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Discover Aspen, I can't remember how many days. I think it's 3 to 4 days. And I think normally they do in-person meetings for that, if I'm not mistaken. But mine was on Zoom, pretty similar to this, just with, I think, 20 other new doctors coming in. So that was a great experience. I learned kind of how the offices operate, kind of the philosophy of Aspen. And so it was a great introduction. And then as far as the first month after that, I don't know how all the offices do it, but I think every owner doctor you work under or every MCD you work under approaches it a little different. But at my office, it was kind of like he started me off on a few procedures on my own, and then eventually ramped me up to pretty much be running my own column by now, probably for 2 weeks now, essentially. And so it was a gradual ramp up rather than here's 15 patients the first day you're a dentist on your own. So it was a great, easy way to come into being an associate.
That's awesome. So what about for like the first month? So basically, when you're doing it, how how was your expectation kind of changed from going through the entire process?
How has my expectation changed?
Like, what did you think going in where you're like, all right, here we go. And then 30 days later, you're like, oh, wow. Well, they kind of made it a little bit different than I expected.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's scary to start. I mean, when you come in and see your license on the line, it's a very different experience than, working for, having to ask Dr. Becker or Dr. Terrell for advice. So I expected to be really stressed out initially, but I haven't really been that way at all through the process. I mean, I've worked hard, of course, but it's not a stressful experience.
Dr. Tina, do you happen to remember when you went through like your first 30 days?
First 30 days, I was actually lucky, I think, because there was also another associate working with me. We had both just been hired on, and like, I had the support from that associate, and we were just like bouncing ideas back and forth with one another, and we were helping one another out with procedures, and at the end of the day, like 30 minutes before the end of the day, like Dr. Shash, the owner of my office, he would just like have a sit down with us and just be like, hey, like anything I can help support you guys, do you have any questions for me regarding procedures or anything like that, any tips or tricks here that he may have had, he gave them to us, and so that was really nice actually for us, because I had support from someone that was just recently graduated, and I also had the experience of a more seasoned doctor to kind of help out too, so that was like my first 30 days.
That's awesome. I completely skipped a couple and now I'm trying to go back and forth. What was your most memorable experience at Loma Linda for both of you? Do you remember?
Disneyland.
It's been a while.
Third year.
Disneyland. What'd you do?
Just
you gotta explain more.
I'd go whenever I could.
Yeah.
Just trying to enjoy whatever time I had free. So.
Who was your favorite professor? Do you remember?
My favorite professor, I had like two favorite ones. Dr. A is one of my favorites, and Dr. Young as well.
Nice. So. Nice. What about you, Dr. Ashton?
My most memorable experience?
Did you like accidentally do something wrong?
Oh, like at school?
Yeah.
I have a particular patient that I'm thinking of. I obviously won't say this patient's name, but yeah, a lot of troubles with a number 8, I want to say. It started out with a root canal, going to be a crown, and then ended up being an implant. So I had a very poor, memorable experience on clinic in that sense.
Hey, you learned from those experiences.
I learned a ton. I learned so much.
Yeah, and that's why you do them then, so that in the future, you get to learn from them. But the beautiful part is you have doctors at your disposal now that'll be able to assist you almost immediately if you have an immediate question. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime I have a question, Dr. Marino is always willing to help.
Nice. And just so everybody knows, Dr. Marino was a 2018 or 2019 grad. So he's
2019.
He's a 2019 grad and he's an owner already. So that's pretty cool. All right. What's the schedule like as a starting dentist? Do both of you want to take that or like just explain briefly about what that is?
I could probably answer that one pretty well because I'm doing that at the moment. For my first month, like the first couple days, I was doing a procedure here and there more than anything else. And then eventually I kind of worked my way up to running my own column, which is, I don't know how many patients I saw today on my own, probably like, I don't even know how many, but yeah, you start off really slow and you get ramped up once you get comfortable.
So you're working at your own pace. Again, like I said, I always try to make one or two things stick throughout these entire things. No one's telling you how fast you have to work, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Dr. Tynan, want to take a shot at that, or we just got to keep moving forward?
I mean, kind of like what Dr. Ashton was saying, initially you start off slow and then you build your way up to managing your own column, and then you branch out to other, having 2-3 columns, 4 columns. That's kind of where I'm at, where I'm managing 4 or 5 columns,
And just so that everybody understands, like, so obviously the responsibilities, and I know this is a question here, and we'll just go straight into this. Could you talk about the differences in roles between an associate, an office owner doctor, and then obviously, lead partners and all that? I'll start that part off. Like, so as an associate, it is like a little mini built-in GPR, right? Like you're working at your own pace. You're working to just try and improve your clinical skills. And then once you get that part down, now we're starting to have discussions about edge. An EDGE is basically a program that occurs about 4 to 6 months later. It's not a requirement. However, it's highly recommended to attend. And, you know, in a perfect world, typically that is an in-person event where you're going and talking to like 30 other docs, and we fly you either to New York or we fly you to our new headquarters in Chicago. And you're basically getting a deeper dive into, you know, the analytical side of it and certain case studies and stuff. Dr. Tina, did you ever go through EDGE and kind of that? And if so, what was your experience?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We went over to New York, but essentially at that time I was still an associate, you know, and then like my eyes were kind of opened, like, oh, like, you know, I'm ready for that kind of responsibility. Because for me, I was starting to get a little stagnant where I was at. And so I was like, you know, I want more of a bit of a challenge. You know, I want to kind of push myself, you know, to do more, you know. So, you know, after I came back from EDGE, you know, like the people that are essentially guiding that out are getting a feel for, like, you know, what do the doctors want to do, or what they want out of themselves, you know. And, you know, I made it clear that, you know, I want my own office, you know. And even so, like, I'm getting at the point too where it's like, well, like, maybe I need to start looking into opportunities for like partnering, or even buying into my own office even now, you know.
So going from associate, and then, which is a single chair, you're just looking on improving your skills, and then you go into a lead doctor position where you're basically what I essentially I call it, like, for any sports fan, you're quarterbacking the office. So you're the leader in the group. You're starting the morning huddles by talking to everybody, because it is incredibly important that everybody's on the same page now. And just to clarify also, and we'll go into the pay and kind of how all that works right after. The lead doctor is running the show pretty much day in and day out, Monday through Friday, whereas some of the owners own multiple practices and they're not there every day. So that's kind of where the quarterback, or the lead doctor, AKA the MCD, is going in, not only working on the communicative part of everybody in the office, but also managing and juggling multiple chairs. Eventually, once you get to the point where you're doing really good as a lead doc, you're starting to think about ownership. And obviously there's things that you need to sacrifice in order to consider ownership, based on location, right? Are there a lot of owner doctors already owning in that area? Or do you have any new offices that are going to be open in that area? If not, then you can look into other areas that are starting to potentially grow. And that's where you have the discussion with what we call POP, which is the practice ownership program. Basically, it's the beginning of starting to prepare to become an owner. And the process takes about 6 to 10 months on a normal average. And it's essentially preparing you for the additional steps that are required, or the responsibilities that are required in becoming an owner. So with that said, because I know we had a question, how's the pay? I will definitely start that part off because I know this is a very sensitive subject, because all of our owners, and this is something to take away from this as well, is that all of our owners 100% make all of the decisions in that office. Doctors are hiring the other doctors, meaning that we don't have any sort of influence on which doctors go into which offices, because those owners are the ones that are going to be hiring the associates or the lead doctors or the partners for those particular offices. So with that said, I'm going to break it down as simple as I possibly can regarding pay. The cool thing is we don't have any contracts, right? So there's no term length on, no matter where you decide to go, we don't have a term length, meaning that you can work for the competitor tomorrow. Additionally, we don't have any non-competes, which means you can work across the street tomorrow at the competitor's office. And finally, we do have something called a daily guarantee rate, which ensures that you're going to be making X amount of money no matter what. Now, cool part about that is it never goes away. Like, you'll talk to other DSOs and they'll say that will go away after 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, or whatever it is. That will be with you for the entire duration that you are a doctor with a company. Now, the cool part is the profit sharing part that I would love our doctors, if they feel comfortable talking about it, kind of how profit sharing works when it comes to it. But let me start it off by saying that daily guarantee rate ensures that you're going to be able to be financially stable, right? And then based on the success, not just of you as an individual doctor, but as an entire team is where this profit sharing comes in. It's basically a bonus for having a successful office, not being a successful individual. So we'll keep Dr. Ashton out of it just at this time. Dr. Tyner, do you have anything to kind of add on top of that as far as the details?
Yeah, I mean, you work hard, you essentially get, a share of the profits as percentage of the profits that you would get in the office, once, you kind of hit like a certain number too, because at the same time too, like there's bills that have to get paid and things like that too, certain, again, it's essentially just to kind of incentivize you to, you know, work a little harder and not everything just falls on your lap, so.
And just to clarify, like, so when you're doing the procedure, there is no, because a lot of it is more team-based now. For example, patient satisfaction,
Mhm.
The ability of not just your success in the office, but your associate success, your lead doctor's success, and your owner's success, and even the specialist success. How does that all kind of work together? Do you know kind of the details on that, Doc?
It's a little complicated.
I know, and I really hate going too far.
It gets kind of complicated because, I mean, like, yeah, like your associate does like a lot of work, and like for me, like I don't have an associate. It's just myself, in the office. But I do have an oral surgeon. Like my oral surgeon is not going to just come to my office if I just, have two patients for him. But at the same time too, that hurts you. Because the oral surgeon brings in, a certain amount of income to your office, and you just, essentially it's my responsibility to kind of just build up his schedule so that way he's able to get like a profit, but I'm also able to share in that as well too. Yeah. So being able to kind of just work on that schedule for him. Some offices have endodontists that come to their office too, so it's also, it's not just focusing on your oral surgeon's schedule, but focusing in on your endodontist schedule, your own schedule, and just making sure you're just staying on top of things, and just making sure you're getting your patients in as soon as possible, because a lot of people come in, with pain, needing work done, and it's just a matter of just, getting them in as soon as you can,
So let me add on to that too, because I know this is a very sensitive subject, and we're very transparent. So I always try to explain it to the best of my ability. So first of all, every office is different. So for example, Dr. Tyna is the lead doctor. He doesn't have an associate in the office. Whereas Dr. Ashton is an associate in an office with an owner. Every office is built completely different. But what we can tell you is that based on the success of that office, so for example, anything from as small as selling a toothbrush to as complex as a procedure done by an oral surgeon, that's going to count towards the success of the office. And if the office is successful as a whole, then that means that you will be getting a piece of that pie. And I think that's the beautiful part is no matter what, because that daily guaranteed rate is there, the average doctor that comes into Aspen Dental is going to be making somewhere around $550, $600 a day. That's usually about the average based on location. That kind of first of all, that's above market value in a majority of major cities. Secondly, that's going to break out to about somewhere around $145,000, $150,000. That's the minimum amount of money that you're going to make, which I think is beautiful. And then from there, if your office is doing really well, you could potentially be making more based on the complete office success. And then on top of that, based on your patient satisfaction. Do either of you want to kind of talk about how that patient satisfaction works? Like the questionnaire and all that?
It's essentially like a question. Oh.
Yeah, I'll just take care of it. Yeah, it's basically a two question questionnaire, and if those patients are satisfied with their experience, that throughout an entire month with a lot of people saying that they had a good experience could potentially make you more money. So that's the simplest way to break it down. If anybody has any more questions, we can always talk offline regarding that, but I think that that's probably more than enough, right? So another question, does Aspen Dental have specialty? We kind of already went over it, but do both of your offices have specialty?
Mm-hmm.
I have
Yeah, I have
specialists come
an
to my office. Yeah.
endodontist that comes in once a month and an oral surgeon.
Yep.
Same thing.
Same.
So the goal is to have 100% of our offices covered by having at least a regional endodontist and oral surgeon. So, obviously we're constantly trying to get those individuals to be in every office. However, sometimes that's not the case, but in a perfect world, they're going to be going in once a month, potentially twice a month. And if you put stuff on their schedule, and again, continuity of care, like Dr. Ashton mentioned, that is considered a win. Even though you're not doing the procedure, that's considered a win for the office, and you do get a piece of that pie. Let's see. I have another question. Do you guys come to school for recruiting when we're in the final quarter of the year? Yes, we do. COVID is a very funky year. Typically, we're there all the time, usually like once every 2 or 3 months. As of right now, we're just not allowed to, but we will essentially go. So as of right now, this is kind of our main way of doing things until we've been approved to, go back to normal. If I start off as an associate dentist, how quickly can I become a lead doctor or owner?
That all depends on how, how much you want it, like if you work hard, like you're going to do whatever you can. Like I volunteered myself to go to other offices, showing that I do want to grow as a lead doctor and I want to become a lead doctor, so I was traveling, between 4 or 5 offices within the week, so that's kind of how I was showing them like, hey, like I can manage these guys' schedule, so not just handling a single column, but handling their other columns as well too.
Nice. Dr. Ashton, do you know Dr. Marina's story? Did he happen to tell you it?
A little bit of it. So Dr. Marina, he's from Las Vegas originally, and his goal was to work in the Kansas City area. So he ended up in Lawrence as the MCD, the managing clinical director, what Dr. Tane is. And he actually just purchased the office like when I came in, so about a month ago. So essentially he graduated in 2019 and at the end of 2020 he's an owner doctor. So very quickly if you really want to go to the right area.
It's very possible, definitely very possible. There are lots of things that need to kind of come perfectly together, or you might need to sacrifice some things here and there in order to get there. But the beautiful part is we've had these Cinderella stories where you start off, you graduate and you're an owner within 10 months. However, that's not everywhere. And that's not for everyone. Everybody goes at a different pace. Some people have the level of business knowledge that you don't get, or some of them come in from, other places and might have more experience. There's no cookie cutter way of it happening. And, if you want to stay an associate your entire life, you can. If you want to stay as a lead doc your entire life, you can. There really isn't any specific cookie cutter way of it kind of going down. I think that's more than enough, right? How many people work inside the average office? Somebody want to do a breakdown of that?
I have like 8 staff members.
Mm-hmm. So who are they?
I have 3 front desk people, 1 lab technician, 1 hygienist, and 3 dental assistants.
And then you said you have lab tech too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that
doing oral surgeons too?
No, because they're only here with us like once a month, so I don't really count them in there. So
yeah, so anywhere between, like typically at about 9. When they're in there, it could be potentially 11 people. Does that sound about right to you, Dr. Ashton?
Yeah, it's similar. So we got person up front, office manager, 3 dental assistants, 1 hygienist, me, and then Dr. Marina, and then the lab tech.
Nice. So it's a fully stocked office with potential room to grow, and also a lot of, depending on how many doctors we need in that office, depends on how many new patients are coming in. So, that's something that they make a decision based on it. So if there's more people coming in, yes, we'll hire another person to go in there. Wow, this might be a little bit difficult to answer, so we might have to take some of these offline. How is the work-life balance at Aspen Dental? Who wants to take a shot at that?
It's better than dental
Work-life-
school.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot better. It's a lot better. I mean, I work 8 to 5, you know, Monday to Friday, you know, and that's because I enjoy it. I do it because, you know, I've been asked like, hey, do you want to go to 4 days a week? And I was like, no, to be honest, I don't know what I would do on that day off. But, you know, to be honest, I think, you know, at some point, yeah, it will come. But I think that I have plenty of time to get home and just spend time with my daughter, my wife, my dog, you know. So, you know, I think that there's plenty of time for me there, you know. So it's definitely not as stressful as when I was in school.
Dr. Ashton?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar. We at our office we do 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, and then we get off at 1 o'clock on Friday. So I think every office has a little different hours, and I think that depends on the owner, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
But I think the hours are great. Having that extra time on Friday is awesome. Still getting a 40-hour weekend and getting home by usually 6 o'clock. So it's not bad at all. So I feel like it's a good balance. You don't have to come home and think about lab work. So that's awesome.
Nice. So it is currently 6:42, or in Central Time, it is 8:42. So it's getting a little late. I want to be very respectful, not only of our doctor's time, but also your time as well, because I know you guys have stuff to do as well. We'll ask 3 more questions, and then we're going to close up shop. Okay, everyone? Will I do my own treatment planning?
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Yes, you will.
Care to add any more to that?
Essentially, it's your license. You know, like as a lead doctor, it's your license. You know, you do have the autonomy as an associate to say like, hey, you know what, like I don't feel comfortable doing this. Do you mind taking over? You know, respectfully, just talking over the lead doctor, right? But I know that I stand by my treatment plans that I put forth. You know, because I know that at the end of the day, it is my license. You know, and I want to make sure I do what's right for my patient. So
Awesome. Awesome. What procedures do you enjoy doing the most and the least?
I enjoy cutting crowns and I enjoy doing extractions. I do not enjoy fillings.
Just by preference. Is that a majority?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't like root canals. So it's great to have the endo come in.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I think it's people. I always try to reiterate certain things that I think are important, because our doctors don't have to do root canals. You put them on the endodontist schedule, and that's still considered a win or a success for the office. I think people always think like, oh, well, I feel like I'm forced to do a procedure to make money or get a percentage. You're not doing a percentage of collection or production inside these offices. So it's incredibly important to know, like, all right, I'm not forced to do this procedure. If I put on this endodontist schedule, that's still keeping it within the Aspen network, you know, and that essentially guarantees a win for that entire office. I always feel the need to continue to stress those types of things because we always get questions on that. Anything to add, either one of you, on that? Nope. Okay. Final question. How have you grown since joining Aspen Dental?
How have I
Let's start
grown?
that.
I feel like I've really kind of just been with this company like since I've gotten out of school. You know, I have really enjoyed being here. I'm like in a very small town here in the middle of Iowa, and yet something about this town has kept me here, you know, and I enjoy working with people here. I enjoy interacting with the people of this town, and you know, it's a true privilege because a lot of them really just come to you with help, wanting help, and you know, you're there to give it to them, you know, and you're essentially, you know, it's essentially, you know, for me, I always see it as just a privilege, you know, to be able to help them. You know, and
Awesome.
I feel like that's not something that I really understood when I was in dental school. So
How do you want to finish that off, Dr. Ashton?
How have I grown? Well, it hasn't been a long time to grow, but I feel like I've learned a ton in just a month. I mean, I've already increased my speed. I I've learned, what it means to be able to be in control of making the treatment plans yourself, and um, learning to create relationships with patients even better than I did in dental school. So yeah, I've grown a lot in one short month.
That's awesome. And obviously you're going to have tons of more growing to do. So we'll have you back on next year, back when you get to that particular point. But final question: favorite movie of all time?
Oof.
I'll give you mine. This is, it's a little bit of an older one, but man, The Shawshank Redemption's so good. Other than that, I love like a lot of the mafia movies, just anything with like a really good, intense, but like throwing a curveball type of movie. What about you guys?
I just finished watching The Hobbit, so
Yeah,
so I'm
like that,
like
the sci-fi.
Hobbit, Lord of the Rings,
Nice.
fantasy, so.
Nice.
I like anything Quentin Tarantino. So Glorious
Nice.
Bastards is one of the all-time greats in my opinion.
That's awesome.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, very good.
That was really good. I just saw that,
Yeah.
I don't know, about 4 months ago. All right, well, that's it. Thanks everybody for coming. Again, free CE opportunity for everybody that kind of jumped in last minute. aspendentalce.com/welcome. I know there were some questions about my email address, their email address. We have it right there. Obviously, send anything to me if you guys really have some questions kind of about the process and how everything works. I know it's a scary and daunting experience. To let everybody know, like, there are so many different things that will be able to assist you throughout the process. And whether I can help you with Aspen Dental things or not, I do have a background in working for schools and helping students, PhD, masters, and undergraduate students get jobs too. So, obviously I get paid to work at Aspen Dental and I love Aspen Dental, but I can also help you guys in any other facets, even when it comes to just looking marketable or employable. So don't be afraid to reach out to me. There's my contact and there's some emails as well. Can we please give a round of applause to Dr. Ashton and Dr. Tyna, like a virtual round of applause? Because I know you guys don't have the ability to take themselves off mute, but thank you so much. Appreciate it for everybody. I hope everybody really enjoyed this. Again, if anybody has any questions, please just feel free to email me or text me directly. But we had a whole ton of questions, and I look forward to continuing to meet everybody. And hopefully one day you'll both be meeting both Dr. Ashton and Dr. Tyna in the future. But thank you guys both. Rock on, make sure to vote, and we'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.